Welcome to the Ricky Mathews Show, the show that every single day celebrates the men and women who are making coastal Mississippi and Mississippi, for that matter, such a great place to live, work, and play. You think about living in Mississippi, which I had the opportunity to celebrate not only on this show, but the extension of this show now on Thursdays. It goes into the Jackson and Delta markets. We'll be adding more days and more markets as we go forward. And then, of course, SuperTalk Outdoors. This opportunity to celebrate this amazing place is, gosh, man, it's we're lucky to live here. In fact, this past week on my outdoors show, I talked a little bit about, as outdoorsmen and women, the opportunity we get to travel this state. Speaking of myself, the opportunity to go up to the Mississippi Delta, which this time of year I'll be spending more time up there. And because I love the Mississippi Delta. But every time I pass a blues marker, it reminds me that as outdoorsmen and outdoors women, we get the opportunity not just to enjoy the outdoors, but we get a chance to sort of enjoy and be sort of tantalized by the history of this great state. And one of the stories I told on my outdoor show is that I passed over in Berkeley, Mississippi, this blues marker for B.B. King's birthplace there on the Bear Creek. And I mean, literally it's out in the middle of nowhere. You know, a lot of the blues markers are, but gosh, when you're there and you get a sense of that history and you get a sense of all of what people like B.B. King and Robert Johnson and so many others brought to the table and how they influenced the world from that beginning. Gosh, man, we're so lucky to live in this state with so much history. I mean, literally the birthplace of American music. That's why I always enjoy visiting with my next guest, Steve Azar, the music and ambassador, cultural ambassador for the state of Mississippi. The author of the song "One Mississippi," which is the theme song for my show SuperTalk Outdoors, and also the new state song for Mississippi. He's got a new book out. I said it before we started the show. I don't know how he's doing what he's doing. He seems to be one of the busiest men I know these days. But without any further ado, let me welcome my friend Steve Azar back to the Ricky Mathews Show. How you doing, Steve?
Brother Ricky, hello, Cal in the background. Always have to shout out to your producer. We are in Studio A at Delta State, where I used to shoot hoops back in the day, and turned into one of the greatest studios I've ever been in. And we've having a whole lot of fun, and we're recording today. But I thought it'd be a good place to give him a little shout out. Beautiful.
Yeah, you're actually recording a freshman who's at Delta State, who is a phenomenal singer-songwriter. We'll come back to him in just a minute, Drew Pullman, but it's cool. And you're actually also kind of shooting a documentary of the effort. And again, we'll come back to that in a second as well, but that's a special place you're in, isn't it?
Man, such memories. And I'm not going to, Gwen will be singing Glory Days, but my first two intramural basketball games here, the first one, I scored back-to-back 44 points. You know, back in the day when we shot, Ricky, it counted for 2 points. So I used to shoot deep, but and I drove my coach crazy. So I wasn't really a great high school basketball player because, you know, I wanted to shoot way out rather than take it to the hole. And but this place, the first game, triple overtime, and then the next game was not triple overtime. And then I think I started going south after that, but I had a couple of first games. So a lot of memories. But, you know, the truth is we have made some really great records in here. We made Coldwater with Cedric Burnside, me and him. A lot of my records, Rosedale, Midnight, all those new songs were recorded here. Tyler Tisdale. And Drew, we've got millions and millions of streams out of here now. And obviously the goal is to get tens and hundreds of millions, but we're on our way, I feel.
We're in cold water.
We're in too deep.
We're in too deep for sure. Listen, you saw how I started the show, but, you know, I did sort of bring the outdoor show to a little bit broader perspective this past Monday, because I wanted to focus on when you're in the Mississippi Delta and other places across the state, and you have the opportunity to kind of take in the history of Mississippi, the blues markers, man, serve as this great tool, not just for people who are visiting here, who want to be brought into the world's largest outdoor museum, but it's a great thing for us. It's for us to be reminded of the historical perspective of music in the state. I mean, when people are in Greenville and pass your marker there in downtown Greenville, I mean, it's a special opportunity to really reflect on who is from here, who has made their marks from here, who represents us as ambassadors for the rest of the world. Gosh, man, I mean, just so much to be proud of, isn't there?
Well, it is. And I'm very grateful to have my own country trail marker. But I'm going to tell you, those markers do a lot for our state. First of all, when I was in Nashville in the very beginning, and I started writing with some really, really great Texas songwriters, they would boast constantly about how they own it. And what they did was they were so good. And it's a big state. It's got a lot of big cities, a lot of top 10 mark. I mean, we know Texas is a big place, but they would boast about how they would never even have to leave the state lines to make a living. And a lot of artists did that and continue to do that in Texas. Well, I used to go, you guys are second fiddle. You're not first. We're first. And they were always in awe with where I was from, being from the Mississippi Delta and Mississippi in general. But we really got good, I guess, the last, 15 years at taking it back. And part of this has been this blues trail marker system, the Riders Trail, the country trail markers, the Freedom Trail. We're talking about a lot of things that has changed the world, mattered to the world. And I just can't tell you. So, we left a blues trail marker in Liverpool, for goodness sake, for the Beatles invasion. So you can go from one end of the world to the other practically, one end of the pond to us, and celebrate 200 plus blues trail markers. We haven't gotten to 50. We're around 4. Where are we at? In the country trail marker system, we're right around 40. We might not be at 40 yet, but it's growing, and it's really cool to see these markers. And especially for me, I put it in front of the street that I grew up playing gigs at in Greenville, Mississippi. Happens to be where I shot some of the Waiting on Joe video with Morgan Freeman back in 2002 or 3. And it's in front of Jim's Cafe, so people go there. And not only are you're not in the middle of nowhere. I had some places in the middle of nowhere we could have put it. Behind my dad's liquor store would have made sense, but you would have had to make one crazy effort to get there. Now you get to bring a little business to a place that mattered to you so much, and people can go have a meal and then check out the marker. It's pretty cool.
So, Steve, speaking of history and the Mississippi Delta, it was so sad to hear of Hank Burdine's passing.
Yeah.
A lot of folks referred to him as the historian of the Delta.
Sure.
You were quoted in SuperTalk News as the tremendous void that he's going to leave. It's sad to see someone with so much institutional knowledge in their head and so much love for the Delta pass away.
He's going to be greatly missed. It is going to be a tremendous void, a hole that we probably will never fill. He's a special guy, one of those colorful people that could sit around. You just wanted to be around the kitchen table at all meals. You wanted to be at a campfire with him. You wanted to be on the river, his knowledge. And he's passed this on, though, to his son, Matthew. And Matthew does tours on the Mississippi River with our Viking shows, the Steve Azar's Mississippi, as they've labeled it. We've got, so we've been told we have the #1 show on the Mississippi for them. But with that said, Hank was a part of that and a big part of it. But Matthew, when Hank was sick, had been filling in. So he's already probably got about 10 under his belt, and he got better and better. And it is like watching young Hank all over again. So Matthew's going to carry on the torch. His dad wanted that, and we're going to miss Hank, man. Special guy. I don't know if I don't think you can call this coincidence. One of his best friends was Julia Reed. Julia Reed, former editor of Vogue magazine from down here. They passed away 3 years to the day on the same day, and they were about best friends. So
wow.
Probably pretty cool reunion, I would imagine.
I can see some of the pictures that were posted of him standing up on stages, giving, telling his stories. And for people who haven't seen a picture of him, think kind of Ernest Hemingway looking dude with the gray beard and his sort of trademark hat and doing his thing. But I never had the opportunity to meet him, but I was incredibly aware of him and had read a lot about what he's written. And now, in fact, he wrote a book not long ago, actually. And I look forward to getting that book. Some Delta stories.
Dust in the Roads. Yeah.
Dust in the Road. Exactly. What a perfect name for a book like that. Hey, listen, we're gonna get into so much, but man, I'm so proud of you on the book launch. The children's book, the illustration. My old friend Neil White from Gulfport, actually, who's with Nautilus Printing and Publishing. You guys have been hitting the road on that deal, haven't you?
He's the best, man. He's been a perfect fit for this book. We've enjoyed getting to know each other, and blessed to have him as our publisher, and Sarah Frances Hardy, the illustrator. She just knocked it out of the park. Really.
Well, listen. Hey, when we come back on the other side, we'll talk a little bit about the book signings that you've been doing. I have loved seeing the One Mississippi visits that you've been doing at schools and watching the whole student body know the words of this song. It's just so cool to see. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with singer-songwriter and the music and cultural ambassador for Mississippi, Steve Azar. We'll see you after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Mathews Show. My friend, the music and cultural ambassador for the state of Mississippi, the man who wrote the state song for Mississippi, One Mississippi. And he's also the host of In a Mississippi Minute. And if we have time, we'll talk a little bit about some of the more recent guests he's had on that show. I noticed actually the other day that you posted, Steve Berline has sent you from Mississippi State, your song being aired to the whole stadium. That, I tell you, you're sort of used to that because you've been around for so long and you've done tours with Bob Seger and all kinds of cool stuff during your career, but it's got to be cool to hear your voice being played at a stadium.
I got to tell you, I've been a little hurt. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you that when you go to the Rebels game and they're playing Friends in Low Places, and I'm going I love Garth. He's a great guy, but he's from Oklahoma. No. And then I'm going, who's going to play I Don't Have to Be Me Till Monday? Because it's got to fit, And so anyway, it was great because, Pearl River Resort sort of started that and they more than started it. They've been running all their commercials, and we've been airing that stuff between Dancing Rabbit and obviously Pearl River Resort with I Don't Have to Be Me Till Monday. It's their theme song now. And so since then, now you get that, but then you get them finally playing the song just as a song at Hell State. So big shout out to Mississippi State for that. Steve Berline was calling the game. He came to the Delta Soul this year. Obviously, 17 years as an NFL quarterback, long time, couple hip replacements, knee replacements. He's an old friend. And he said, oh, my God, he got so excited, that he had to film it and send it. So I posted it.
Yeah, that's really. Hey, in fact, Cal, you ought to play I Don't Have to Be Me Till Monday at the Superdome.
Cal, what are we doing?
Well, that's New Orleans. I'm thinking for Biloxi Shuckers for sure. And then, we'll see how with New Orleans. I get in trouble every other weekend for different things. Might as well be for a good cause.
I've got an exclusive deal with Pearl River Resort when it comes to anything casino-wise, so we got to be cool. I mean, they're my guys. Hey, man, and it's been so great working with them. I'm about to go shoot some more commercials. Matt Perkins and the Chief Ben, I love him, and Ryan Griffin, the whole team there. We've had the best time shooting commercials. They've taken Monday and they've taken each line and turned it into something. I never saw my song that way. And when they were looking at it, Matt was going, every one of these lines stands on its own. And he proved it to me. So when you go to Pearl River Resort, you see, on the keys, it says, no work, all play. It says went off the deep end on their door tags when you want privacy. I mean, it's been the most fun I've ever had.
Really? That's so cool.
Yeah, they've been wonderful to work with. In your life, you look for great partners, and they've been absolutely a dream.
So look, the book, the one wonderfully illustrated children's book that is honor. It's a tribute to your song, One Mississippi, the state song for Mississippi. First of all, the launch, it seems, has been incredible. Your book signings, I think you debuted at #2. You've Gosh, man, what a journey that's been. The song, and by the way, the song, as you go to these, when you post from these classrooms and from these school gatherings where every kid in the school is singing One Mississippi, that whole experience for you has to have been incredible.
I've got a lot in front of me, and I'm telling you, that is the greatest feeling I have ever had. It's better than playing Madison Square Garden or playing the Rose Garden or playing the Boston Garden or playing the Spectrum, or it doesn't matter. There's a feeling about watching these kids. It's unbelievable, Ricky. I mean, they know every syllable, and they know it better than me. I had to ask, did I skip a whole verse last time? Because they go, oh, no, you didn't, because they started clapping. The only thing we got to work on, their clapping, because they get a little off. It's like in my family, there's Strack, who's great at clapping everything on time, and bless his little sister's heart, she doesn't have any rhythm at all, but she can cook, So anyway, it's so funny, but no, it's been so beautiful. Jill Ford brought me in the other day to Madison Station Elementary, and it's just awesome. I mean, they're just so happy to sing it, and having the book now with Sarah Frances Hardy's illustrations, and we have a full-blown curriculum for school, a teacher's guide that goes with the book, and it's been like a 1-2 punch. I mean, I don't mean book signings have a PowerPoint when all the parents and grandparents and kids are in a big room, like we did the Max Museums. And then the kids do that, and they come out and they sing One Mississippi with me, over 100, 200, 300 kids. I just think that it's what book signing has a song. And obviously the song made the book, but I gave it that opportunity. But talking about connecting dots, it's been so much fun. And Neil says that, if they would have counted ourselves from a lot of the book signings where we did hundreds, I mean, we've signed hundreds of books in one book signing. And he said, but they don't count in the charts. And I said, this is worse than the music business. It's so much, but it's good. So we're off to a good start. And I'm going to visit a lot of schools over the next handful of years, and try to get to as many or all of them if it's all possible. But yeah, it's been pretty moving, I can tell you.
You know what, Steve, that book's going to be a great Christmas gift, isn't it?
Hey, Ricky, nobody's ever bought 6 CDs at one time or 10, because people would pirate it. They'd buy one album, or, in our day, buy one CD. Oh, no, we can go burn it. We can make a copy. But in the book world, it's a physical copy. People are buying them by the 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10s. And they're signing every one of them to their grandchildren or their kids, and it's just been amazing. So pretty cool. And we're just getting started. So I think this is one of those things where Neil feels like it'll just keep going, and we need it to until every kid knows the state song, and then you graduate those kids and the new ones come up and everybody's proud of where they're from. When I wrote the song, I wanted to highlight the absolute beauty in our state. And I could have written 42 songs, but I wrote a 6.5 minute song just to, try to take out Freebird and American Pie, which we did.
But, I tell you what's interesting, and I would really encourage people to go and do a search on the new children's book inspired by the official state song of Mississippi, One Mississippi. Go do a search about it. And I think you'll be drawn to it. First of all, it's wonderfully illustrated. I mean, Sarah Frances Hardy knocked it out of the park, and it shows the diversity of Mississippi and the creativity of kids, and it's got a little bit of everything, doesn't it?
It does, and it really touches on Mississippians, period. So we were, it touches on the Choctaws. When I grew up, Asian population in the Delta, it was vast. I grew up, and for many years, my parents did, their parents, and so everybody's so Southern talking, and people see me and they think New Jersey probably. I make the joke, but I'm many generations back Mississippi Delta, so I screw things up when I start to talk. But no, it's awesome, and there's 7 beautiful kids she created, and they're doing all sorts of stuff in the book, and then the curriculum actually takes you past the book. So, America's music birthplace, and you've got what's apparent, right? Elvis and BB and Sam Chapman and all that. But then you start talking about things like the blueberry and the new state fruit is blueberry, and that I just found out. And there's so many questions you can ask within each line that's not necessarily the lyric of the song. It opens your imagination to all sorts of options that are the truth about Mississippi. So you're sort of on a walking history lesson constantly throughout the lyric of the song that takes it to another whole place. And there's a lot of schools that have already adopted it. And in fact, William Carey College has 120 teachers that are heading out this weekend. I'm going to be on a Skype with them or a Zoom call with them, and we're going to do One Mississippi together. But they've taken the teacher's guide and they have sort of souped it up in their own version. And these 120 teachers are taking the book and they're taking it to their classrooms next year, just in one swoop. So pretty cool, man. Ricky, you guys, took such a team effort for this to happen, for people to start paying attention to the bicentennial song, which is why I wrote it, and it's amazing, man. It's just amazing how far we've come.
And I personally have a lot of pride in looking at the cover of the book and seeing the new state flag there, and it really represents it. We finally can have a flag that represents all Mississippians. We have a state song that represents all Mississippians. Won't go into it, but the history of the previous song was just terrible, terrible history. Yeah. And we needed to fix that, and we did fix that. And so, we get a chance to look forward. And I love the beauty of this book, and I actually see future cartoons and all kinds of cool things that could come out of this. But
yeah, we got a coloring book coming.
Yeah, of course you do. I mean,
with puzzles, So yeah, that should come soon.
So many opportunities, but it's a great way to engage kids around the state in a way that can give all of them pride, no matter where they came from, no matter who they are. It's just an awesome thing. Hey, when we come back on the other side with Steve Azar, actually, I want to ask him a little bit about artificial intelligence and how it might be impacting the recording industry. We all know that it's impacting everything. We'll see what Steve has to say about that when we get back with Steve Azar after this break. Welcome back to the Ricky Mathews Show. I have my friend Steve Azar. And, Steve, one of the things that you and I have done over the course of our over 3 years of spending time together on the air, both on your show and this show, is talk about the evolution of music. I mean, the industry has undergone just absolutely dramatic change in ways that in some ways make it harder, in some ways give real stars the opportunity to rise. But it is a vastly changed arena that you live in, isn't it?
Oh man, you got Austin back behind me. He is going to be one of the best engineers. He's just got it. When he came to school here at Delta State, he had it, and he's helping me make all these records now. And you're going to hear him in the background because we got some recording, if that's okay to do.
Good.
But he knows as well as I do. He's up on all of the latest on Pro Tools and recording. But now we're dealing again with the next version of Napster. The biggest change is AI, right? And it's a little scary. The record industry didn't accept the presence at all of Napster. Oh, it's no big deal, right? It's nothing. What changed the landscape of the entire music business, and in the biggest way in the history of our business. So, when you can't make that sell anymore, so you got to realize, so 1,500 streams represents one sell. Now that's what it is. That's 1,500 sales you used to get, and they don't exist anymore. So now you've got AI, and to me there has to be a lot of attention paid to where it is right now. There needs to be some checks and balances in Congress. They can't drop the ball here, because if you can take my voice and then or the way I write songs and just go in and go, okay, I want to write a song like Steve Azar. I want to think like he does, which is probably a problem for everybody to think like I do. Have mercy, forgive everybody. But if you take that and you can take my voice and then you can do that, then either that's going to make my job a lot easier, or I just think it's a big mistake. So I'm all about the positives of AI. You were talking about it the other day with Paul, and I was listening the whole way intently. I do see the advantages of it, but I think that we've got to really go in and decide what's going to be allowed, right?
Yeah, what Paul and I talked about the other day was about the Google lawsuit, and the fact that the Google lawsuit is, in some ways, is a little bit late in happening as the Justice Department challenges the way that Google went about getting this position in the marketplace. I've been concerned about social media, and I guess Congress is way behind on how to deal with big tech. So, Steve, one of the things, if you think about Congress and then you think about the music industry, we went from you own an album and you sell albums and CDs to the only way you can make money now is on the road or through streaming. And that happened really quickly to the industry, didn't it?
I mean, it happened to me when I had my first hit. So when I Don't Have to Be Media Monday came out, and then Waiting on Joe came out, we were having crowds show up where the record sales weren't present, right? So we didn't understand it. And what happened was all these college kids were coming to my gigs from Rutgers and I remember Ivy League, that world, Philadelphia, New York. We go do shows in the bar, the theaters, the bars were big. There were 1,000, 2,000 people. But he goes, this is not our usual crowd. We don't know who, they're all young and so finally I went into one of them's apartment. It looked like my apartment, had a dog, had a beanbag, no furniture back in the day. And they go, this is where we're listening to your music. And I went, what the heck is this? So I went back and told my record label president, who, I didn't gel with, but I don't want to hear this. This is stupid. And, I'll never forget it. But I ended up going to Congress. I think you and I have talked about this, so I apologize if I'm a broken record. Pardon the pun, but they brought me in to play, and I had one of the most illegally downloaded records, I was told, that year. So those were all the sales that you would have had. And I guess young kids seemed to like it, in college. And they showed up at our shows. But, we were sort of chasing. Well, how it affected us negatively was, when you sold, 20,000 records in Chicago, that you can fill a 3,000, performing arts center. Well, those sales weren't there. There was 4,000 and 5,000 in Chicago. And then they're going like, okay, why isn't he selling like, 5 years ago, with the success, the songs are happening. And I was part of a whole lot of artists that were going through this. It affected us down the road live for touring and our price and everything. So literally my hits came out right when Napster became it. So it wasn't the best of timing, was it?
But I mean, technology has changed everything. If you think about artificial intelligence, one of the things I did is I'm in the chat box for Chat GPT right now, and what I wrote in here, and we're attempting all this live, so I literally have no idea what the result of the answer is going to be as it's loading as we speak. But I said, write a song about Steve Azar in the Mississippi Delta. He's a singer-songwriter. He's the music and culture ambassador for Mississippi. That's all I did. Okay.
Come on.
That's all I did. And here is the song.
No.
I'm just going to sing a few bars. Not sing, but just share. In the heart of Mississippi, where blues. I've not read this before. I'm reading this for the first time. Where the blues were born. There's a man named Steve Azar. His melodies adorn. A singer-songwriter with a soulful voice so true. He's the ambassador of music, spreading love anew. And here's the chorus. Oh, Steve Azar, the Mississippi Delta's pride. With your songs, you take us on a heartfelt ride. From the cotton fields to the mighty river's flow, you capture the essence. Let your music glow. And I'll give you one more verse. From Greenville to Clarksdale, through the Delta's land, Steve's guitar strums echo like a guiding hand. He weaves tales of hardship, of joy and pain through all his heartfelt lyrics. We find solace again. Oh, Steve Azar, the Mississippi's Delta Pride.
Oh my God.
With your songs, you take us on a heartfelt ride from the cotton fields to mighty rivers flow. You capture the essence. Your music flows, and it just keeps going. The next bridge is, as the cultural ambassador, you shine so bright, preserving the heritage day and night. From juke joints to crossroads, where legends were made, you carry the torch, keeping blues alive, unswathed. It literally gave this to me, Steve, with that single query.
Hey, listen, I think I like AI. It made me glow. I'm glowing right now. You know what, though? I would take that. Now, so here's what you could do, right? You take that and you get rid of the thing, glow, the sway, the adorn. They're words that popped out that if I'm teaching a songwriter, I said, okay, great. That's what came to your mind. But now you got to be great. And you got to go find another word for adorn. You got to go find that. And you don't have to necessarily be a perfect rhyme. So that's where it's missing, but it's going to get better.
Yeah, but what's wild about it, though, is what it did is, of course, what ChatGPT is, the best knowledge in the world is out there. And so it immediately pulled from a little bit of your history and where you're from and all this stuff. I didn't have to tell it any of that. It just took my query and what the knowledge on the internet about Steve Azar, and it wrote a song that centered around you being the music and cultural ambassador of Mississippi, and it did it in a split second.
You didn't tell it anything to know all that. You send me that, by the way, and send me your question. I want to share that with Gwen.
Yeah. It's just, but this is the thing. Okay, so then you add to it the ability to steal your voice.
Yeah, that's well.
And then create music from scratch and put these words with your voice. Dude, how in the world does the industry protect itself?
I don't know. I mean, right now, the lyric, it's got a long way to go when it comes to understanding. It was accurate in spots, but it still lacks a little bit of heart, And so, but once it figures out how to have the heart and the soul, we're going to be in trouble. I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, look, we've been in a time, technologically speaking, that it's just going so fast now, right? It's just crazy. And,
it really is.
And I don't know, man. It's bewildering to me that you just asked that to do that.
Hey, but here's what I think is going to happen, and I think it's already happening for people who are familiar with OpenAI and how it works. There are numerous chat boxes that are emerging today as a result of it. But the fact is, where you might have, like, for example, if I was preparing for a topic that I didn't know anything about, why don't we do this? I'll pick it up on the other side so I can explain how I'm using it. And then I
want to ask you a question too, Ricky, when we get back. I want you to think about this as a media guru, and you were at the top of your game, at the top of the game period for so many years. How will it affect media now, print media?
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we come back with Steve Azar on the other side. Welcome back to the Ricky Mathews Show. I have my friend Steve Azar, and we're talking about artificial intelligence and how it impacts the music industry. And what I was about to say before we went to break is that if you think about, as I used to prepare for this show, and you'll do the same thing once you get familiarized with it, is that I would go search the internet around a particular topic, and then I'd have to go and get the results from the query that I made in Google or wherever. And I'd have to go to each of those sites and, read each of them and then pull bits and pieces together to sort of create a coherent understanding with my words of what I've learned. Well, now I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to go do a search anymore. I can just go to ChatGPT and do the query, and then they go and look at the best of what's available on the internet and bring it back to me, and I can get it in whatever form I want to get it in. It's still in its elemental stages for sure, but it's still incredibly advanced. As you think about publishing, what what you're beginning to see is actually publishers that are developing now, that are trying to be local in every community in America. And like, for example, when someone dies, it will let OpenAI write the obituary for that person, and it's really impersonal. It's you can tell that it's been done by a chat box, but the reality is that's how it's going to be used. And so, as if the print media didn't already have a lot of problems because its revenue model had been obliterated. Now if I were a journalist, obviously people are going to have issues with this. But whether you're talking about copywriting in a marketing sense, or writing anything, if I were a teacher, for example, and I was trying to teach kids how to do research and write their own stuff, how do they sort through what they wrote and what was written by OpenAI? It's we're in the Wild West right now. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out.
How did you ask that question? Where do you go to do that?
Yeah, I'll when we get off the air, I'll show you. But essentially, what you need to do is you need to download the Chatbox AI app. And there's some free versions, but there's a paid version, which I have the paid version. It's not very much money, and then there it is, and it'll be there for you to play with and be amazed by. It gives you something to work with.
You're this publisher of these huge media sources, right? For so many years, right? Award-winning, all the magic and incredible work that you did straight from the imagination and creativity and minds. And the talent and the hard work it took to take that and bring it on to print, right, and paper. How do you, if you're today, if you're in your heyday right now there and you're not retired from that, what do you do?
I'm finding ways to use our best resources to use this technology to maximize how we can serve the community. So, someone could literally it could be embedded in the work that someone does themselves, or it could be one person having multiple subjects that they might go into, and they're using AI to help them be more productive and to do more. Now, again, you're going to see some companies that emerge that are completely automated, and that's going to seem so. First of all, it's wrought with a lot of legal problems, because the reality is you're still going to be responsible for the legal requirements of print. So that if you write something that's defaming to someone, et cetera, you're going to have big issues. So I just don't think you're ever going to be able to completely turn it loose. But boy, is it going to make you more productive. If I were, there are a lot of white collar jobs that are around that involve research and copywriting, whatever. I'd be seriously threatened by this technology if I were them. I mean, the experts say hundreds of thousands of jobs will go away in the next few years just related to this technology. It's incredible.
letting the computer do that in the intelligence, artificial, whatever it is, artificial. It feels artificial.
Yeah.
Letting it take over and do the research for you and be the voice for you, right? Be your mind for you. Well, we're going to become not such an intelligent society. I mean, we're gonna be like walking around in a coma.
Hey, but listen, your son Strack, who's a filmmaker and terrific producer, et cetera. When I wrote a modification to the Mississippi Film Office approach to how they might bring smaller productions to bear and give them incentives and whatever, I used AI to help me develop the framework for that, and then I modified it with some Mississippi knowledge and whatever.
Which sounds like the way to use it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's the same. I could have gotten the similar result if I'd have done Google searching, but this I skipped an entire step. I let the chat box go out there and study the internet for
which to me is smart, is using your time wisely, right? Work smart, not harder. Okay, I get that. But then you put your signature on it. I know you, right?
Yeah.
So I get that. It does the research part. That makes sense to me. So I'm with you 100% on that. What about like when it's going to come to banking? And right now, I mean, like fraud and and people take over your identity.
Believe me, they're all worried about it. That's why Elon Musk said, several years ago, I was following the advancements of artificial intelligence, that this machine learning eventually could take over, and it's going to go into banks, for example, and find where their weaknesses in their software are. And I mean, the intelligence uses of it, oh my gosh.
Scary. It's
scary stuff. Hey, Steve, it's been a pleasure to catch up with you, my friend. Congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
Keep swinging. Good luck with your recording today with Drew.
You got it, man. You're the best. Thank you so much.
Have a great day. And I will see you tomorrow. Yeah, you bet, man.